This is the EdExcel GCSE 9-1 Maths Foundation Paper 2 from the November 2017 series. Question number 1. You have to write 7 over 100 as a decimal. Well, if I type in the fraction 7 over 100 into my calculator and then press equals, then press STD, we can see that 7 over 100 as a decimal is 0.07. Question number 2. We have to write down a multiple of 6 that is between 40 and 50. Well, if we write down the multiples of 6, we have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60, and we can continue. A number that is in between 40 and 50, that is a multiple of 6, we could have the 42 or the 48. We can write either of these down. For example, we could write down the 48. Question number 3. For part A, we have to simplify 3f times 5g. 3 times by 5 is 15. Then we have f times by g, fg. For part B, we have to simplify t times t. This is the same as t squared. For part C, we have to simplify 2n plus 6n divided by 2. Well, what this is equivalent to is 8n over 2, which is equal to 4n. Question number 4. Ken buys some fruit. He buys apples, bananas, peaches and oranges. Ken buys 4 apples weighing 125 grams each, 2 bananas weighing 170 grams each, and 3 peaches weighing 135 grams each. Each orange has a weight of 90 grams. The fruit has a total weight of 1.785 kilograms. For part A, we have to work out how many oranges Ken buys. Well, here we've got grams, here we've got kilograms. To go from kilograms to grams, we multiply by 1000. Grams to kilograms, we would divide by 1000. And so therefore 1.785, if I multiply that by 1000, we would get 1785 grams. So this is the total weight of all the fruit. Now we need to find out how many oranges we have. So if we let x equal the number of oranges, then we have 4 apples weighing 125 grams, 2 bananas weighing 170 grams, 3 peaches weighing 135 grams, and we've got X number of oranges, each weighing 90 grams. And in total, the weight is 1785. So we've got 90x, and if we add together the 4 times 125, the 2 times the 170, the 3 times the 135, we get 90x plus 1245. This is equal to 1785. And so if I do 1785 subtract 1245, we get 540. So 90x is equal to 540, and to find out what x is, we divide by 90 to get 6. So x is equal to 6, so there's 6 oranges. Then for part B, Jane wants to buy 15 tomatoes. She asks for 1 kilogram of tomatoes in the shop. Jane assumes that each tomato has a weight of 75 grams. If Jane's assumption is correct, will she get 15 tomatoes? You must show how you get your answer. Well, if we've got each tomato weighing 75 grams, and if we want 15 tomatoes, then the total weight, that will be 15 times by 75, which is 1125 grams. Clearly, this is bigger than 1 kilogram. So is Jane's assumption correct? No. Her assumption is incorrect. Then for the next part, if Jane's assumption is not correct, could she get more than 15 tomatoes? Justify her answer. So if the tomatoes have a smaller mass, then maybe she can get 15 tomatoes. Question number 5. 60 students were asked how they got to school. 15 took the bus, 27 walked, 12 took the car, 6 used a bicycle. What fraction of the 60 students did not walk to school? Well, the number that did not walk, we've got 15 plus 27, plus 12 plus 6 did not walk, so that's 33 who did not walk, and so therefore the fraction that did not walk, out of 60, we have 33, which simplifies to 11 over 20. So we have 11 over 20. For part B, we have to complete the pie chart for the information in the table. Well, what we need to do is find out the required angle for each of these pupils. So, to work out the angle, well, out of 360, that would represent a full circle. Now, the way we can approach this is 15 out of 60, take the bus, and if I times that by 360, the required angle then for bus will be 90 degrees. For walking, that will be 27 out of 60 times 360, which is 162 degrees. For car, we've got 12 over 60 times 360, which is 72 degrees. And for bicycle, we've got 6 over 60 times 360, which is 36 degrees. So now we have to show all of this on our pie chart. So we've got 90 for bus, and then walking, that is 162. That's over here. So now let's join this point up with this and label it as walking, and the angle for walk is 162 degrees. For bus, we've got 90 degrees, and then for car we had 72. So if we grab our protractor and measure an angle of 72, as we see here, and then join it up with a straight line. For car, we would have 72 degrees, and then for bike, we would have 36 degrees, as we see here. So here is the completed pie chart. Question number 6. Annie and Lily share money in the ratio of 4:3. What fraction of the money does Lily get? Well, in total we've got 4 plus 3, which is 7, and of those 7, the fraction that Lily gets is 3. So we have 3/7. Next, Rosie and Dan share some sweets. Dan gets 1/4 of the sweets. We have to write down the ratio of the number of sweets Rosie gets to the number of sweets Dan gets. Well, if Dan gets 1/4 of the sweets, that means Rosie would get 3/4 of the sweets, and therefore the ratio Rosie to Dan, that will equal 3:1. So we have 3:1. Question number 7. Steve says there are more prime numbers between 20 and 30 than there are between 10 and 20. Is Steve right? You must show how you get your answer. Well, in between 20 and 30, the prime numbers we could have, we've got 23 and 29. In between 10 and 20, we've got 11, 13, 17 and 19. What we can see then is that there are more prime numbers between 10 and 20 than there are between 20 and 30, and therefore Steve is incorrect. Question number 8. Chrissy drew this graph to show the percentage of buses that go to a bus stop on time for 6 months. The party, we have to write one thing wrong with the graph. Well, if we take a look at the percentage of buses on time scale, we can see we add 10, add another 10, and then from here to here, 20 has been added. And then we add 10 for the rest of them. So what we can say then, the vertical scale is not linear. Then for part B, we have to describe the trend in the percentage of buses that go to the bus stop on time. Well, overall, what we can see is there is some sort of an increase, and therefore we would write there is a positive trend. Question number 9. Here is a map of an island. We've got Blackley and Crumford, and 1 centimetre represents 0.5 kilometres. A straight road joins the two villages, Blackley and Crumford. For party, we have to work out the real distance between the two villages. Well, if I measure this distance between B and C, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So, between B and C, we have 5.5 centimeters, and if we find out what this real distance is, what I would have to do is multiply 5.5 times by 0.5 to find the real distance. So if I times by 0.5, what we would do is work out the real distance, and if we do that, we get 2.75 kilometers. Then for part B, we have to find the bearing of Cremford from Blackley. So we're starting at B and then we're going to C. So to work out this bearing, well, measuring this angle, we get an angle of 129. So we have 129 degrees. Question number 10. The diagram shows two shapes drawn on a centimetre grid. We've got P and Q. For part A, we have to find the area of shape P. Well, what you'd find is we've got a triangle for shape P. We've got the height of the triangle, that's 6. We've got the base of the triangle, that's 4. So to find out the area, we have base times height, so we've got 6 times by 4. Then we divide this by 2, we've got an area of a triangle. So what we end up with is 24 divided by 2, which is 12. So we have 12 centimeters squared. Then for part B, we have to write down the mathematical shape, the mathematical name of quadrilateral Q. Well, what we have here are 4 sides, and what we also have is 1 line of symmetry, as we see here. And therefore, what we have is a kite. Question number 11. The table shows a cricket club's income in 2016 from a quiz and membership fees. With the feet, the income is £250. With the quiz, the entry fees, we get 13 at £5 each, and refreshments £35. Membership fees 25 at £20 each. We have to express as a ratio the income from the feet to the income from the quiz to the income from membership fees. Give your ratio in its simplest form. So we want to find the ratio F to Q to M. So if we think about what F is equal to, we get £250 as our income. For the quiz, we get 13 times by 5 plus the 35. So if I work out what this is, we get 13 times 5 plus 35, which is 100. And then for the membership fees M, we have 25 times by 20, which is equal to 500. And therefore, the ratio F to Q to M is equal to 250 to 100 to 500, and we need to simplify this ratio. And the way we can do that is by dividing through by 50. And if I divide through by 50, 250 divided by 50 is 5, 100 divided by 50 is 2, 500 divided by 50, that is 10. So the ratio in its simplest form is 5 to 2 to 10. Question number 12. 200 people live in a village. 23 people do not have a garden. 10 males do not have a garden. 95 people are male. For part A, we have to use this information to complete the frequency tree. So we've got 200 people all together. That is what is told to us. So we've got 200 people all together. And we have as well 23 people who do not have a garden. So we've got 23 over here. Then we've got 10 males do not have a garden. So of these 23, 10 don't have a garden. And then we know that altogether 95 people are male. So 95 take away 10, that is 85. So we have 85 over here. And if I add together 85 and the 10, then we get the 95 people altogether who are male. So now we can fill in the rest. So 200 take away 23, that's 177. So 177 people have a garden. How many females do not have a garden? Well, 23 take away 10, that is 13. And then how many females do have a garden? 177 take away 85 is 92. So we've got 92 females who have a garden. Then for part B, one of the people who do not have a garden is chosen at random. We have to write down the probability that this person is female. Well, how many people do not have a garden? Well, we know from the question that's 23. And of these 23, how many are female? Well, we've got 13 of them. So the probability is equal to 13. Question number 13. Ellie makes hats. She makes at least 17 hats per hour. She is paid 46p for each hat she makes. Reezy is a waiter. He works 35 hours and is paid a total of £266. We have to show that Ellie's hourly rate of pay is more than Reezy's hourly rate of pay. Well, if we think about how much Ellie makes, then we have 17 multiplied by 0.46, which is the same as 46p. So if I work out what this is, 17 times 0.46, that's 782. So we have £7.82 per hour. And if we think about how much Reezy is paid, well, he's paid a total of £266 and he's working for 35 hours. So we need to do 266 divided by 35. And if we work out what this is, then that would be £7.60. So we can see then that Ellie is paid more per hour. Question number 14. A and B are odd numbers. We have to give an example to show that the value of 2 times by A plus B is a multiple of 4. Well, if I had A equals 1 and B equals 3, these are examples of odd numbers, then 2 times by A plus B, that's equal to 2 times by 1 plus 3. So we've got 2 times by 4, which is 8. And this is a multiple of 4. Then for part B, we have to show that when A and B are both odd numbers, the value of 2 times by a plus b will always be a multiple of 4. So if we have over here a being odd and we also have b being odd, then 2 times by a plus b, we're going to have 2 times by an odd number plus another odd number. So we have 2 times by an even number, and no matter what even number I have, I can multiply that by 2 and I'm still going to get an even number. Now even numbers are of the form 2n. For some value of n. So this is the same as 4n, and therefore the 4n is a multiple of 4. Question number 15. Mr. Page uses oil to heat his home. At the beginning of November there were 1000 litres of oil in his oil tank. Mr. Page bought enough oil to fill the tank completely and he paid 50p per litre for this oil. He paid a total amount of £750. At the end of February, Mr. Page had 600 litres of oil in the tank. He bought enough oil to fill the tank completely. The cost of oil had increased by 4%. We have to work out the total amount Mr. Page paid for the oil he had bought in February. Now here is the oil tank, and this is the situation in November. We've got this oil tank, and let's just move this oil tank over here. And so far, we've only got 1000 litres in this oil tank at the start of November. And then what he's doing is, he's filling this tank up completely with oil. And he paid 50p per litre for this oil, and he paid a total of £750. So what we can do with this information is find out how much oil he needs to fill up the tank. So the oil needed to fill the tank, well, we've got 750 pounds. That's how much it costs to fill all the tank up, and then we pay 50p per litre, so we need to find out how many litres were bought in total. Given that it's 50p per litre, we need to find out how many 50p's essentially fill up the £750. So I need to divide this amount by 50p, and if I work that out, 750 divided by 0.5, that is 1500 litres. So then what's happening is we need another 1500 litres. So let's just add this to our diagram. So here is our diagram, and then we add on another 1500 litres. So therefore what we have in total is 1000 plus 1500, so there's 2500 litres when the tank is full. Now, we know at the end of February there is 600 litres of oil left in the tank. So if we consider the situation for February, we've got this full tank, and what's left over is a tiny amount, 600 litres. And therefore, that means that if our total tank is 2500 litres, we need to order we've got the full tank, 2500, and then I subtract how much is in here already. So that means I need to order 1900 litres of oil to fill the tank. So this is how much oil we need, 1900 to fill the tank. And what we need to do is find out how much it would cost. And we know the cost of oil increased by 4%. So if it's 50p per litre before, the cost to fill the tank, well, we've got this 1900, and then I need to multiply this by the new cost, which is 50p times by 1.04. And the reason I multiply by 1.04 is because the cost of oil increased by 4%. So the cost to fill the tank then that's £988. Question number 16, we have to solve 5x minus 6 equals 3 times x minus 1. Well, what we need to do is expand on the right hand side. 3 times x is 3x, and then I've got 3 times minus 1, which is minus 3. So now if I solve this equation, well, smaller x is 3x. So if I subtract 3x from both sides, we are left with 2x minus 6 equals minus 3. And if we add 6 to both sides, you will find 2x is equal to 3. And now if we divide both sides by 3, what we will be left with, rather if we divide both sides by 2, what we'll be left with is x equals 3 over 2, which is 1.5. Question number 17. Emily buys a pack of 12 bottles of water. The pack costs £5.64. Emily sells all 12 bottles for 50p each. You have to work out Emily's percentage profit. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So what's happening over here is we get 12 bottles in one pack, and one pack cost £5.54. So the cost of one bottle that's equal to £5.64 divided by 12. So the cost of one bottle is 47p. And therefore, if she sells the bottles for 50p each, the percentage profit is equal to, well, the profit then, before we work anything else out, that's equal to 50p subtract 47p, which is 3p. So the percentage profit is equal to 0.03 divided by the original cost 0.47, and then we multiply this by 100. It turns out we get 6.38 etc. percent. We want to give this to one decimal place, so we have 6.4 to one decimal place. Question number 3. Hazmeet walks once around a circle with diameter 80 meters. There are 8 points equally spaced on the circumference of the circle, and for part A we have to find the distance Hazmeet walks between one point and the next point. Well, first of all, you can see we've got 8 sections, and what we can therefore do with this information is find out the angle between each point. So we've got 360 degrees, and if I divide this by 8, because we've got 8 sections, it turns out we have 45 degrees between each point. So here we have 45 degrees. Now what we need to do is find out the distance walked between one point and the next. So to find out the distance walked between one point and the next, we've got a fraction of the entire circumference. Now, to work out the circumference, we can work that out by multiplying the diameter by pi. So we have pi times by 80, which is 80 pi. So that's what the diameter is, and we've got a fraction of that, and the fraction will be 45 out of 360. This is the fraction between each point, and then we times this by 80 pi, and that is the distance between each point. And it turns out we get 10 pi, or in other words 31.41 etc. meters between each point. So we have 31.4 meters. And then for the next part, 4 of the points are moved, as we see in this diagram. Hazmeet walks once around the circle again. Has the mean distance that Hazmeet walks between one point and the next changed? You must give a reason for your answer. So the total distance, in other words the circumference, remains unchanged, and so the mean distance remains the same. Question number 19. There are only blue cubes, yellow cubes and green cubes in a bag. There are twice as many blue cubes as yellow cubes and 4 times as many green cubes as blue cubes. Hannah takes at random a cube from the bag. We have to work out the probability that Hannah takes a yellow cube. So if we think about the ratio blue to yellow to green, well, there's twice as many blue as yellow and there's 4 times as many green as blue. So if we say that yellow has 1 part, blue will then have 2 parts, and green will have twice the 2, which is 4 parts. Which is green will have 4 times as many blue, so 2 times 4 is 8. So we need to work out the probability that Hannah takes a yellow cube. So therefore, the probability that Hannah takes a yellow cube, well, in total, we have 2 plus 1 plus 8. And of those, one of them is yellow. So we have 1/11 as our fraction. Question number 20. We've got trapezium T over here, and we have to rotate trapezium T 180 degrees about the origin and label it trapezium A. Well, if I rotate it, then from this point to this point, I go 2 this way and 1 down. So going the opposite way by 2 and then up by 1. That's where this point will correspond. And then the rest of the points will follow like so. So here is trapezium A. And now what we have to do is translate shape T by the vector -1, -3. Well, let's pick any point, for example this one. We go -1, so that means we go 1 to the left, and then we go 3 down, so we've got 1, 2, 3, that's where that point goes. And then the shape has been translated, so here is shape B. As we see here. Question number 21. P to the 3 times P to the x is equal to P to the 9. We have to find the value of x. So what we can do here, because we are timesing and we've got the same base, we can add the powers. So I've got P to the 3 plus x. That's equal to P to the 9. And comparing the powers, we have 3 plus x equals 9. X is equal to 6. For the next part, we've got 7 squared to the y equals 7 to the 10. We have to find the value of y. Well, we've got a base to a power to another power. So here we multiply the powers. We've got 7 to the 2y equals 7 to the 10. So we've got 2y, which is 10, y, which is 5. And then for the next part, we've got 100 to the a times 100 to the b, which can be written in the form 10 to the w. We have to show that w is equal to 2a plus 3b. Well, 100 is the same as 10 squared. So I've got 10 squared to the a, and then 1000, that's 10 cubed, and I'm raising this to the b. So I've got 10 to the power of 2a times 10 to the power of 3b. So I've got 10 to the power of 2a plus 3b. And what you can see here then is 2a plus 3b is what w is. So we can conclude w equals 2a plus 3b. Question number 22. We have ABCD, which is a trapezium, and we have to work out the size of the angle CDA, giving our answer to 1 decimal place. Well, what we can do is first of all find out this length here, which I'm going to call x, and this is the triangle ABC. So if we were to use Pythagoras, then x squared plus 6 squared is 7.5 squared. So x squared is equal to 92.25, rather 7.5 subtract 6 squared, which is 20.25, and if I square root this, x is equal to 4.5. So what we're saying here then is this length over here is equal to 4.5 centimeters. Now if I create a horizontal line going down, such as the one we see here, what I can now do is find out what this length from here to here will be. We've got 24 take away 10 take away 4.5, which is 9.5 centimeters, and now we can find out the angle required. So here is our right angle triangle. We've got 9.5 here, 6 over here, and we need to find out this angle here. So we've got C and D, and let's call this point W, say. So we've got the opposite and the adjacent. What connects those is tan. So we've got tan theta, which is equal to the opposite 6 over the adjacent 9.5. So from this we can find out what theta is. The inverse tangent of 6 over 9.5 is 32.27 degrees. So to 1 decimal place we have 32.3 degrees given to 1 decimal place. Question number 23, we have to use our calculator to work out the square root of sine 25 degrees plus sine 40 degrees over the cosine of 25 degrees minus cos of 40 degrees all square rooted. Well, if I type in the square root button and then the fraction button, we've got sine of 25, then close bracket, plus the sine of 40, then close bracket, divided by the cos of 25, close bracket, subtract the cos of 40, close bracket. Our calculator displays for us 2.75603957. Then, writing that to 2 decimal places, well, the third decimal place, 6 over here, is 5 or greater, so this 5 over here needs to be moved up to the next digit. So we've got 2.76 to 2 decimal places. question 24, for part A we have to solve 2x squared equals 72. So if I divide both sides of the equation by 2, we are left with x squared equals 36, and to find out what x is, we would have to square root both sides. So if I've got x squared equals 36, then square rooting we will be left with x equals plus or minus 6. For part B, we have to expand and simplify 2x plus 1 multiplied by 3x minus 2. So if we use the grid method, we've got the 2x, the 1, the 3x, and the minus 2, as we see here. And if I multiply 3x times 2x is 6x squared, 3x times 1 is 3x, 2x times minus 2, that's minus 4x, and minus 2 times 1 is minus 2. So what we have in total then is 6x squared plus 3x minus 4x minus 2. And if I simplify this, I will end up with 6x squared minus x minus 2. So we have this as our answer. And then for part C, we have to factorize x squared plus 6x plus 9. Well, what we are looking for here are two numbers which multiply to give 9, which add to give 6. Those two numbers, we have 3 and 3. And therefore, when we come to factorize, we have x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 3, which is the same as x plus 3 squared. So we have x plus 3 squared.